congestion, urban sprawl, air pollution, abandonment of urban centers, and concentrated poverty. These are the economic, environmental, and social ills that starting in the 1970s and 80s increasingly became recognized as the side effects of highway expansion programs. In many places, the emerging highway system and the level of mobility the personal automobile afforded individuals was considered the heartbeat of a new economy and was intended to provide many a new sense of freedom. Original justifications for the extensive highway systems that now crisscross many nations was national security, a way to move people and equipment in a time of crisis. As a result of this decision-making, small urban streets were expanded to highways. Neighborhoods were divided by massive freeway projects, and once rural land was opened up to the ever-expanding suburbs by these growing systems of roads. In the 1980s, there was increasing recognition that work needed to be done to address the low-density, auto-dependent development sweeping across the globe, now known as urban sprawl. New urbanism emerged in the late 1980s as a framework for revitalizing central business districts and inner-city suburbs, as well as preservation of green space surrounding cities. In the 1990s, major projects took on the challenge of new urbanism and anti-sprawl in design. Hallmarks of these developments were anchored by a main street, often with living space above retail units, a variety of building styles, and orientation towards a pedestrian-friendly environment. One of the most famous examples of new urbanism development is the town of Seaside, Florida, in the United States. The main street or commercial center is located at the center of the development. Housing units are required to have designs distinct from other units with a variety of styles, all of which have no private front lawns. Garages have been pushed to the rear of housing units with vehicle access via back alley. Though Seaside is a completely planned community, it incorporates many of the elements the new urbanists have worked to strengthen or reincorporate into existing cities and communities. More modern iterations of the new urbanism paradigm include a parallel movement that gained popularity in the United States in the 2000s called smart growth. Though sharing many of the ideals of new urbanisms, its primary focus is on state or regional planning rather than planning at the development level. The most recent offshoot of new urbanism is work towards strengthening walk and bike access within urban environments, often termed a 10-minute or 20-minute neighborhood, with the intent that most services should be accessible to people within a 10 or 20-minute walk. From Plan Melbourne, the 20-minute neighborhood is all about living locally, giving people the ability to meet most of their everyday needs within a 20-minute walk, cycle, or local public transportation trip of their home.
To improve livability, the Victorian Government is working to create a city of 20-minute neighbourhoods. It's all about creating walkable neighbourhoods where people can live locally. Places where communities can access most of their daily needs within a 20-minute return walk from home. These places should have diverse housing options and access to safe cycling routes and local public transport, local health facilities, parks, shops, and other local infrastructure. We are already working with local government, communities, and industry to deliver projects and are committed to building a livable city of 20-minute neighbourhoods. To find out more, visit the Plan Melbourne website.
The 20th century has also marked an increased interest in sustainability and the environment. While transportation emissions make up only 14% of global GHG emissions, it has been and continues to be the fastest growing source of emissions. Contributing to this increase is the growing demand for personal transportation in China, India, and many parts of the developing world. In New Zealand, road vehicle emissions are a significant and rapidly growing share of national GHG. Vehicle emissions increased 82.1% between 1990 and 2016. They accounted for 56% of the energy sector emissions and made up 39.1% of all carbon dioxide emissions in 2016. To address the issue of rising emissions and the resulting environmental, health, and climate impacts, an area of transportation called sustainable transportation has emerged. It calls on planners to think through the integration of land use and transportation to reduce carbon emissions by increasing accessibility by public transportation, enhancing and expanding infrastructure for cyclists and pedestrians, and where vehicles are necessary, reducing carbon consumption by utilizing low or zero carbon propulsion like hydrogen or electric motors. A side benefit of sustainable transportation is better mobility for the young, the elderly, and disabled people. A reduction in the need for personal automobiles increases the transportation options available to these groups. By planning for a more sustainable future through the integration of transportation and land use, the provision of public transportation, and more mobility options for those that are not in a motorized vehicle, we can change our path from the 20th century growth model of unsustainable, low-density development and overemphasis of personal automobiles to a more inclusive planning future.